Well, we have Joe Baumgartel. Did I hit it right? Please tell me I hit it right.
You got it perfect, actually.
Sweet. Awesome. Well, we've got Joe with us today. Joe's a musician who's turned computer science and internet guy, and he is the co-founder and CEO of a company called Symposium. Joe, thank you very much for being with us today. Truly appreciate it.
Oh, thank you for having me.
You bet. Before we talk a little bit about your company, I want to talk a little bit about you. Like, just tell me a little bit about your life. Where are you from? Where did you grow up? That kind of stuff.
This is like that moment in school when they
Heck yeah. You know, it was going to come. You see the back, it says everyone has a story. So we got to know your story.
Yeah. Let me see if I have some bullet points here.
Okay.
I grew up in Connecticut, in a small town called Ansonia. We're outside New Haven. Oh. I spent a lot of my youth playing music, as you mentioned. As soon as I could get a guitar, I just was in my room all day playing guitar.
Okay.
I didn't even really start getting into technology myself until I was around 30, but I was around it all the time. Not around 30, around 27. I didn't start getting into video until around 30, 31.
Okay.
But I was around technology all my life. My dad was, an Oracle expert, so we had the first, Pentium computer on a block. We had the internet, as soon as it came out, basically we had, the fastest dial-up modem you could have at the time, as fast as everybody else's.
Wow, nice. Yeah, that 14.5K or whatever it was back then. Yeah.
We were all just speeding along. I was on the internet, God, all the time when I was a kid. Looking at text. I remember when we used to draw pictures in text. That's what everybody used to do.
Uh-huh.
No pictures yet. So I've been around the internet for a really long time. Been around music for a really long time. I've been very creative for a long time.
Okay.
I wrote a trillion songs. You can actually find them on Spotify and Apple Music. I'm not going to tell you about that. You'd have to look harder for it.
Okay.
But I spent many years writing music and doing all that stuff, being creative, making things.
Right on.
Making things has always been my passion.
Okay.
I like to see a long, trail of things I made behind me.
Okay.
Sometimes I wish it were like, I don't know, Adirondack chairs or something like that.
Yeah.
But it's always been songs and at this point now it's been a lot of software.
Okay.
I love building software because it's so expansive. I can keep on going and trying to solve problems is what it's really all about all the time, right? They call it solutions.
Sure.
And I love solving the problems. It's so fun for me.
Okay.
So let's see. I'm in Vegas right now. I've lived in Vegas twice. This is my second time.
Okay.
And I love Vegas. I think this is the place that makes the most sense. I'm born in Connecticut, lived in the South for a long time, and now I've been in Vegas for a long time, and I feel like I'm a Vegas guy.
So why do you consider yourself that? What's special about Vegas? I mean, for those of us who just have a passing idea of what Vegas is, we know about the Strip, we know about the casinos. What's so special about Vegas?
I love the diversity. I love the diversity in people's backgrounds, but also the thought. People are allowed to think whatever they want here and say it out loud. That's what I feel like. Everybody kind of understands that everyone's different here, and for the most part, finds a way to accept that, deal with it, and let something new and innovative happen. I mean, to me, if you were to look out my window right now, right, there's the Vegas Strip. This is what I look at every day, and what I think about is, Bugsy Siegel or whoever thought, hey, put a casino in the middle of the desert. Yeah. And for some reason or other, that became not only a smart idea, but, an idea that lasted and built and built and built. And it was the weirdest idea in the world at the time, like a casino in the middle of the desert. Why? Right? There's nothing there. And it turned out to be such a brilliant move. And it's just a reminder to me that there are no right answers before they're right,
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, when you think of Las Vegas, it's not that old of a city. I mean, like you said, Bugsy and whoever else developed that city, in the 50s, 40s? It's really only about 60 to 70 years old as far as the city goes. And it's really became the city we know it in maybe the past 20 or 30 years. I mean, it's just exploded.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Exactly. No one could have known, and that's the truth for everything. I heard you talking about Zoom earlier and how you were using it, for many years.
Yeah.
Or not many, but as long as they've been around.
Right.
And now it's the biggest thing in the world, and everybody knows what it is. If you had said last year, "Hey, Zoom me,"
exactly.
No one. And this year, they're the biggest thing, going, and you all the time that growth is there and ready. You never know.
Right, exactly. So when did you make the transition?
Did I lose you?
I'm still here. Can you hear me?
Something happened here.
I think my internet is showing that it's unstable. Oh, that's all awesome when that happens. Gotta love it. I think my kids are probably playing Call of Duty in the other room. I think that's what's going on at the moment. I can't turn it on. I'll cause a mutiny if I tell them to turn it off. It's the way it goes.
Call of Duty is killing internet connections.
I know. That's the way it is. Tell me a little bit about the transition period between the time you were a musician to the time you became, basically more interested in technology and computer driven.
Well, that's an interesting one. So, I mean, I was a good guitar player by the time I was 16, and I was giving guitar lessons by the time I was 16. So for the first, period of my musician life, I was supporting myself giving guitar lessons. I mean, I went to music school and everything. But, when I was already making money in lessons before I went to school. I came out of school, I was still making money in lessons. I wound up having my own, lessons business. So I was working by appointment all the time and having to promote myself, having to schedule everything, having to go to someone's house or have them come see me, having to decide on pricing, having to deal with, getting the payments, all that kind of stuff. And seeing kind of the challenges and the things. I mean, I was an entrepreneur, but also an artist and, also a creator. Now that was, God, I mean, that's going back, 23 years at this point, right? When I started giving guitar lessons. So I became a full-time musician, right? In my early 20s, mid-20s. And by the time I was about 26, 27, the economy turned around. Everything kind of dropped out, right? The whole economy crashed 2008, 2009. And things were hard for me as a musician. Things were hard for me for teaching. Things were hard for me as a musician in general. And funny thing, I tried to give lessons online. That was like one of the first things I thought of. I mean, I was living in New York City at the time, actually. I moved from Las Vegas for the first time to New York City. And I was trying to, make it as a musician there. It takes a while to break into the scene there. You can be really good, but you still have to make your inroads, right?
Sure.
Get to know people. So I looked online, tried to find some companies I could work for teaching online, and no one would hire me. I think because there was such an influx at the time. It wasn't that I was getting like no's. I was getting no responses, which was really, really weird. Where I was with, at that point, over a decade of teaching experience, I have all these people I've played with behind me, and I can't get a job online. So, and there was no tool for me to really do it myself, a way to really wrap it all up and make a way to market myself, schedule myself, accept payment, do the delivery, all that.
Right.
So I had been interested in I'd been a musician for a long time and decided I kind of wanted to know what else could I do. I think learning something else, going back to school, learning something else. I was looking for a creative thing like music, and I thought, man, it would be really cool to build software. It just occurred to me. It was something I'd seen all the time. I'd seen my dad doing it. I'd seen people in his family doing it, and I just went, what is this thing about? So I called him. I said, hey, what do you do?
Yeah.
What do you do? You have like a pretty good, lifestyle. You still have a job right now, and nobody else does. And what do you do? And he says, he starts explaining to me. I said, I have no idea what you're saying. Yeah, I tried to teach you when you were, 15, you didn't want anything to do with it. Or I tried to teach you when you were 12 or something, you didn't want anything to do with it. Well, that was fun. Well, what do I do now? He says, get a book on Java. So that's what I did. I just started. That was the first book. A book on Java. I started learning out of that book. I started going book back in school. Next thing I knew, I was at UNC Chapel Hill for computer science. Then I wound up while I was there, going and starting a team, building a live video streaming app before Meerkat, before Periscope, before Facebook Live, obviously, as I came after that. Before all these things, I was working on a video app, which I still want to build, by the way. I'm not even going to talk about what that was. But it ended up, I had this team of kids working working with me at UNC Chapel Hill, and we were building this thing, and I wound up, all of a sudden, live video went crazy. It was nuts. Meerkat went nuts down in South by Southwest, and so we just kind of pivoted and started trying to chase them. Came up with this product called UPeak. And ever since then, I've just been in live video or building different things freelance here and there. But I wound up in Symposium based on that knowledge and the kind of convergence of my experiences as a musician, as a person who worked by appointment, in teaching, and as a person who needed to be entrepreneurial but didn't necessarily have an avenue to do it, have a clear path, and as a person who knew live video and software. So that's how I wound up in Symposium.
Sweet. So how does it work exactly? How does this, is it like a website, or exactly what is Symposium then?
Symposium is a website. It's also a mobile app on Android and iOS.
Okay. How
does it work? Well, it's very much like taking something like this interview here. I'll interview you. I give interviews, let's say. Okay. And the interview is the product, right? I'm going to sell you an interview. I will interview you. You could take this thing wherever you want. I'm going to put a price on it. I'm going to wrap it up. I'm going to make it for sale on the internet. What we did is we took this idea of the appointment, and we turned it into a product you can deliver on the internet.
Okay, gotcha.
So what you would do for this interview is you would pick a price for it. You would pick times you're available. You would put all these things into the app. You would decide whether or not you want to sell a video of it for an extra price. And you would then make a listing. You get links to your listing, and you can post them all over the place. You could send them wherever you want. People go right to your listing. They look at your schedule. They schedule with you. They get prompted to open up the app or open up the website at the time. You get prompted too. You guys open it up at the time, and you meet. And if I really like you, if you're giving me this awesome interview, well, then I can flip you, and like I said, I can buy your videos. So you have these other ways of making money as well. And that's mostly what we do. We handle your payment, we handle your scheduling, we handle delivery of everything, and we also help you market. And that's the big thing too. Symposium at its heart is a marketplace. It's a marketplace for live interactions, which is a thing that had never existed before, and I still don't really know about it. Yeah, I think that Airbnb stole our live video experiences line, though. They did during the pandemic steal live video experiences from us. I know that you were looking at us, Airbnb. I know you were. But we're a marketplace where the difference between us and, say, a lessons site or something like that we let you in no matter who you are. We're not a gatekeeper. We provide you the tools. We give you the opportunity to come in, and then reviews. The work that you do is what's going to make you rise to the top in your category or whatever, however you want to look at it.
So this is not specifically for musicians. This is for anybody that has a product, whatever that product may be, to sell.
Yes, I mean, if you have a dumb thing to sell, you can sell it on here. It probably won't sell,
sure,
right? But if you have something good, it's going to sell. There are all kinds of things out there. I was looking at like somebody doing ASMR podcasts. Actually, there's somehow in the Spotify podcast charts right now, there's an ASMR podcast, and I was thinking, boy, that's the perfect thing for Symposium. Somebody can call up and get their private ASMR experience, whenever they want. You really don't know. It's for anybody. You can give a lesson, but we separate. We do this thing where we don't separate you from your audience. We're trying to make it possible for you to use this as a tool and have it as your own business. It can go as far as you want it to go, but at the same time, we're going to promote you. We're going to promote the fact that we have lessons in this. If it was ASMR, we're going to promote that we have ASMR in there, and we're going to help you promote. We're going to give you more and more tools to do that. And the best part about it, the coolest thing about it, is the thing that I was trying to figure out how to do for years, which is make it free. And so we did that. We made it free. We do take, at this point right now, if you get tips or you sell a video for whatever price you choose, we'll take 50% of that, so extras. But, when I was teaching guitar in 2008 or whatever, I was charging $50 an hour, I think, at the time. We wouldn't take anything out of that $50 an hour.
Okay.
If I got a tip, we would take some extra 50% out of that because we have to somehow pay our bills.
Sure.
I just want to make sure that people can have their own business. We stay out of your way, and you get to make as much money as you deserve.
Okay. All right. Well, that's very enticing. I mean, like you said, free is always a good word, in what you're doing.
Look, if I can make it completely free, I would. Like
Sure.
I said, we got to keep the lights on.
Yeah, you got to keep the bills paid. I totally understand that. So where did you come up with the name Symposium from?
Oh, boy. I've always been interested in history. In fact, last year I went to Athens by myself and kicked around for a while. Symposium was this really fun event where people got drunk and talked about high-minded ideas.
Okay.
I don't know. I think of it like Hamilton, right? If you've seen Hamilton, you've got Lafayette and Hamilton getting drunk and talking about the future of the United States, right?
Yeah.
and that's what I picture a symposium being like in Greece, is people just really drunk on wine talking about democracy or whatever.
Yeah.
So I thought that symposium being something people do all the time. In Las Vegas, we have symposia, but they would say symposiums probably. Mm-hmm. We have people coming here doing, hair treatment symposium,
sure.
and whatever, all kinds of things.
Yeah.
And so these things just kind of came together, right? It's a fun thing. It could be really fun. It could be just entertainment. Mm-hmm. At the same time, it could be really high-minded, and there's some history there. And it's a word that maybe not everyone recognizes yet, but many, many people do. I mean, there are thousands of people coming to a symposium at a time, mm-hmm. All the time in the casinos here. And the weird thing is, they're holding these things in casinos where, it's like this old, not to say don't get drunk on symposium and have a great time. That's not what I'm saying. Yeah. but it's this fun place where you could also be high-minded.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, my wife and I have been to a few symposiums. She's more of the writer than I am, but we've been to some writing symposiums. Unfortunately, it's in places like Provo, Utah, which is not as fun as Las Vegas, Nevada. I'm just going to put that out there. If you know anything about Utah, you understand what I'm talking about.
It depends on what you want to do. If you want to run really fast to the woods and you think that's fun, that's a pretty good one.
Yeah,
I happen to think many places in Utah are beautiful. I don't know that one.
They are. Well, Provo is Provo's the home of Brigham Young University. So
okay.
That's all I'm going to say there. That ought to tell you maybe a little bit if you know what I'm talking about. So I'm just going to.
What I know is that if you go to a symposium in Utah, the beer is half volume.
Actually, they just finally changed that rule in Utah. They actually have regular beer in Utah now. Yeah.
Well, that's cool, and it's almost too bad at the same time. One of those oddities in the United States. The United States is full of these oddities here and there.
It is.
And that was one of those.
Yeah, right? It is. And speaking of oddities and speaking of Utah, they have made medical marijuana legal. And I'm in Idaho, and we have not. It's amazing that Utah has done it before we have here in Idaho. But
I would have never guessed that.
I know, it's crazy. It's crazy. Actually, all the states around us have done it, except for, I think, Wyoming. But Washington, Oregon, of course, have recreational. And
Utah must be looking at Las Vegas and California and saying, wow, these guys are making a lot of money.
They're making some money.
A lot of tax money.
Might want to get in on that. That's right. So of course we've been in this season, since at least March in this country, where we've had some serious effects on businesses and because of this pandemic that we're living through. A lot of businesses have had a really hard time trying to maneuver through this situation, especially brick and mortar companies and things like that have just, they're totally dependent on foot traffic coming into their stores, restaurants, all those kind of things. So how has this pandemic affected you in your position and the company as a whole?
We've had the same challenges all the other companies have had. How do we work remotely? I mean, interesting thing, though, we're a remote solution. So we've always kind of been ready for that. We have worked remotely plenty.
Okay.
But I think for us, the camaraderie is tougher to come by. I miss the camaraderie. I miss being around people, being able to smile across the room, people, people doing the same thing here, talking about their lives, and being able to talk about it without this sort of, undertone of this sort of gray undertone, whatever you call it.
Yeah.
That's been the major challenge, I think, for us. Just keeping up morale, making sure that we are in touch with each other, trying to get some laughs in. Other than that, we've been pretty much built to be able to work remotely. We're a remote solution. We've always been a remote solution. So.
Okay. All right. That's a good answer. So tell me some of the products that are currently available on your website.
Oh boy. Well, there are three kinds of products. First of all, on Symposium that can be sold. Three kinds of packaged products. One is the one-to-one talk. For instance, your interview, if you were to list it for a price, right? That's the one-to-one. That would be things. There are lessons in almost everything, right? At this point, we have things in computer programming. We have things in music. We have things in doing your nails, doing your eyelashes. We have stuff all over the place. It's all over the map. Then we also have a second product. So that first product is called the Sim Talk. That's the one-to-one Sim Talk.
Okay.
The next one is the Simcast, which is a broadcast, one-to-many. This is what people are used to, Facebook Live, those kinds of things. But it's almost like your own pay-per-view. And like I said, you can sell videos to everybody in there. You can get tips from everybody. There are people doing things like yoga classes, dance classes. There are people who talk about business on there, different business ideas, real estate ideas. There have been some tax classes. There are things that kind of, it's so all over the map. I knew when we built it, we weren't going to know what was going to be in it, but I'm surprised every day by what shows up.
Sure.
And then the third product is the Simgram, which is it's a pre-recorded video message. So someone can write to you and say, hey, I would like you to, sing me a birthday song, or hey, can you recite Pledge of Allegiance for me, or something like that.
Yeah.
And you can deliver it to them for a price, right?
Okay.
And this thing is sellable as well, but your own price point. So these are the three products: SimTalk, Simcast, Simgram, and we have people who are doing all kinds of things on there. We've had famous people do Simgrams. We've had famous people do Simcasts. We've had, every kind of thing you can think of, really. I mean, what would you, just curious, what would you imagine would be on it?
Well, I mean, like you said, there's so many different things that you could probably put on there, but there's probably, just right now we're doing a podcast. So there's probably people on there probably selling how to make a podcast, or
yes, actually,
how to do audio editing.
We just had somebody cast a podcast a couple days ago.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, to a whole bunch of people. Wow. So but what else do you think would there be? I'm very curious. I never knew what was going to be on this thing.
I don't know. I mean, there's. My imagination feels like it's limited because I'm sure there's so many things I wouldn't even remotely begin to even think about. So I don't know how to answer that because I just can't even think of things that would be.
I think the most shocking one for me, like last week, was an ASMR one.
Sure. That's an interesting one.
Yeah, there's something I didn't even really know existed, and I see the thing and I went, what the heck is this? And I look at them, oh, interesting. There's a whole community of people who are into sound.
Yeah, and people will buy and pay money for an ASMR experience. I mean, that's entrepreneurship right there, if you ask me. That's capitalism at its best.
You got to figure this. This was always the thought that you could have some niche knowledge or skill, right?
Sure.
Be in some small town like I grew up in Connecticut, Ansonia, Connecticut. You're an ASMR specialist in Ansonia, Connecticut, where no one knows what the heck you're even talking about when you talk to them. You can open up a brick and mortar there where people can come into you, but no one's going to come in. There's no one there.
Right, absolutely.
But if you go and you make it packageable for the internet, well, now you have billions of people to market to, right? We don't just limit it to national either. I mean, we focus on national, but if you want to go international, you can too. There's no way that you can be in Ansonia, Connecticut, have some niche, specialty, have the ability to reach the full internet with it and not get booked. There's just no way.
Yeah.
The only way you're not going to get booked is if you just kind of don't show up. You don't show up, you don't do anything at all, don't do any work. But the bottom line is, if you have something and the power of billions of people, that's just numbers. Yeah. There's no way that you can't go and get yourself a client list for the whole week. Sure. There are people, we've learned, the internet has taught us that there are people out there who like everything and they meet each other and for good and for bad.
Yeah.
We have furries and we have militias or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, I totally get it.
Right?
Yeah.
You don't really know, but people, there is a market for everything we've learned.
Yeah.
We had no idea before the internet there was a market for everything, but now we know.
Yeah. Do you? Is there anything that you would not allow on your?
Of course. This thing. I want people to be able to go on there and be safe. I mean, I don't want all of a sudden to have the I think the thing about the internet is, what is it? If you have a conversation for too long, any argument turns into an argument, and they start using Hitler, right?
Right. Yeah.
To me, I think if you have any video source open for too long, eventually a penis will show up.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
The two kind of truths of the internet, as far as I know. We don't want anything like that showing up. We're not doing adult stuff. We're not doing those kinds of, I mean, if you want to swear and have your own adult, look, it's paid. No one can get in. But if you put a swear in the title or something, it's going to get taken down. Yeah. We want it to be kid friendly. We want it to be parent friendly. We want it to be community friendly. And there are professionals using this thing. We don't need professionals, feeling queasy or their clientele feeling queasy because they come in looking for something. I'm trying to make sure people can have businesses. And if you do things that are kind of on the riskier side, that can really affect businesses, and I don't want to do that. I want to make sure everybody can have the business they want, just not adult business. There are plenty of things out there. There are plenty of things out there for that. There's plenty of money floating out there for people who want to do that elsewhere.
Gotcha. Very good. So when somebody posts something on your site that they're selling, do you guys? Does that go into like an SEO type thing where you're basically pushing things up through Google or whatever to have that person, say somebody does a search on Google, if I'm trying to make sense here, and say we're doing the ASMR thing, and they say, okay, I want something for ASMR. Are they going to see this from you?
Right now, we're trying to build automated solutions for that. We're trying to automate that. It's a tough job. We're working on it. Mostly what we're doing is trying to get things out through ads. We're trying to automate that. We're trying to find ways to SEO it up. It's tough. I mean, I'm sure you've been through the SEO battle.
Yeah.
It's a tough one. So
it's hard.
I know we can get there because there are other products that do it. I have a pretty good idea of how to get it done, but that's kind of the next stage. To this point right now, it's been a lot of provisioning all the tools for somebody to use, filling the store, right? Selling the things in the store. Now we're trying to work on how do we get you marketed better. That's kind of the big thing now for me. It's been user experience when you get in. Do you have all the tools you need? Are you comfortable? Is your audience comfortable? Do you understand what you're doing? And then it's like, okay, now how do I really make it cool for you? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
The SEO is something we're actively working on.
Okay, great. Thank you for answering that. One last question. What are your plans for the future for this company and you personally?
World domination.
Sounds like something my son would say, playing Call of Duty right now.
Yeah. I mean, hey, look, I've played Halo enough that I'm thinking about world domination all the time.
Yeah.
I'm trying to dominate the next world, right?
There you go.
What's the thing? Like I said, right now, I don't try to think too far ahead. I mostly try to think about how. My biggest thing would be, I would like to see someone make $150,000 in a year on Symposium. I'm not thinking so much about Symposium. To me, we're a sum of our parts, right? The people who are there are the important part. So if I can somehow lead this thing to where it grows enough and provides enough that someone can make $150,000 a year, in a year on this thing, on our product, on Symposium, that's my aim. What's going to make that happen? Well, things like the SEO, bigger, broader tools, more, interaction between us and our customers, so they understand that we're there for them, we're supporting them, and how we're supporting them, and what we're giving them, and the best ways to use it. I think we'll get there. I think it'll be, a year or two, and then I'll be able to talk about the next goal. But that's my goal. It's not some Symposium goal. It's more about, I want to see the entrepreneur reach a level of success that I feel is, at and beyond where they should be.
Okay, great. Well, Joe, it's been a pleasure talking to you, and we'll make sure that we have, all the information that you want to give us in the show notes, your website, and then anything like your Twitter handle or anything like that you want to give us. We'll make sure that's all in the show notes. So again, we've been talking with Joe. Let me try this again. Baumgartel.
Man,
No.
you're an expert now.
Yeah, thank you. That I feel humbled that you say that. I think you're lying, but thank you so much.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
All right, Joe. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.